Welcome to another episode of Barbecuing Sacred Cows. I'm your host, Jason Williams,
And I'm Jarrell Jones,
and this is the show
where you get to question
everything you've ever learned. Today, we have a special guest with us today. Mr. Eric Bonaccio has a phenomenal story, story of redemption, story of transformation. Why don't you just start out, just kind of introduce yourself, kind of where you're from and what brought you to Birmingham.
Yeah, my name's Eric Bernaccio. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. Born in a town or a city called Taunton. Grew up in a town called Lakeville, and then most of my life just lived everywhere, all in and out of the city of Boston and around even Western Massachusetts. Um, I guess I found myself here in Birmingham because that was the path that God had led for me after a lot of resistance throughout the years, making bad decisions as a youth.
Mm.
Into my adult life, even after having kids, being married and almost married for a second time, just finding myself in despair. And the Lord saw it otherwise, and that is the path of how I got here to Birmingham. And I'm not going back. I love it here.
Okay, so in Birmingham you found a home. Talk a little bit about maybe what childhood was like for you growing up, because obviously I don't want to fast forward too far, but we're going to get into some of the bad choices you said that you made, addiction, drug abuse, things like that. But talk a little bit about, I guess, childhood, mom and dad. What was the home like? Did you go to church?
Yeah, so home life was really typical. There was no disruption. I mean, my father had a drinking problem that he kind of got under wraps. I'd say around the age of 5 or 6. My mom gave him an ultimatum. I remember this real vivid moment where they were arguing on the side of the street, where he had drove his car off into a ditch, and she said, "If you don't get help, like that's it." And he just stopped drinking after that, and he didn't drink again until I don't know several years ago. But so things were pretty typical. I had everything I ever wanted. I was probably spoiled, if not. I played sports. My parents took me to church.
Okay.
Did you have siblings?
I do. I have a younger sister and I have an older half brother who I didn't really have a relationship with.
Okay.
He struggled with drug addiction most of his life. Everybody on my mother's side of the family struggled with some sort of addiction, whether it was drinking or drugs. And my dad had struggled with alcohol and gambling. So there was that belief that if you do this, you're going to turn out like this. And when I crossed that threshold, that's what my identity had become. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I played 3 sports. I played basketball, baseball, and football.
Okay.
And one of the things I really prided myself on was baseball. I was really good, exceptional. I played in all the traveling teams. I truly believed in my heart that I was going to be a professional baseball player. And my freshman year, my football coach was also the baseball coach, and he wanted me in the gym in the off season. So he ended up cutting me from the baseball team, and that was just like a huge, like, destructive path of my identity, because I identified as a baseball player, and I'm no longer playing baseball. So I had this gaping wound that I never actually fully healed from at that moment, not until years later.
So it's amazing, like, back in the old days, because, I'm 59, right? So you're probably what? 41, right? Okay, so, that you're like on the edge of the generation where people stopped telling us what we had to do with our lives, right? And it's amazing to hear that story where somebody just completely derails, what your wishes are. I'm almost positive that don't happen a whole lot today, except in poor communities. Where
people tell you what to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't work out real good, because it appears, my experiences with our students in our underserved communities, is that they don't respond to that real well. People telling them what to do. But one of the things that was interesting, that you were talking about your family and the seeming predisposition. You didn't mention this, but you said everybody on your mother's side had addiction and your father had addiction, right? So that kind of puts you in a high probability of. Have you heard of genetic predisposition?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, would have been hard to get away from that. But you said that the rest of your life was pretty good.
Yes.
Right. You said spoiled.
You did. Yeah.
Now, what does that mean?
I mean, it means I never wanted for a meal. It means that my mother or father would be at one of my school activities and show up and make sure I was at school and did my homework, and all the things that come along with that. Christmas was tons of gifts under the tree. Birthdays were never missed. Like that's spoiled. There's people that don't have those opportunities. So I would consider that spoiled. Although that might should be the standard of normal, but
Mm.
to me that was spoiled because I had other friends and people around me that I weren't given those same opportunities. Like they were missing a dad in the household, or they were, their mother wasn't around, or they didn't have the money to be able to even celebrate a birthday, stuff like that. So I consider it spoiled.
So you felt like spoiled is another way of saying entitled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely felt entitled most of my life.
Yeah.
The Lord had to humble me.
Do you feel like, yeah, there was financial support, you got the things that you wanted, you said you didn't lack anything? What about kind of like the emotional social development? Maybe dad, like did dad spend time with you, like teaching you how to be a man?
So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. There was a lack of emotional support. To this day, my father's only said "I love you" once,
Okay.
ever, and there was no physical connection as far as like hugging or anything like that. Where I'd see my friends and they'd say bye to their parents, and it was like "I love you," kissing the cheek and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never really experienced that. My dad was a provider. He worked hard, and he's still working to this day at 74 years old. Hard working man. He'll never let you go without, but he's not gonna sit there and tell you he loves you. You know what I mean? So he's not. We don't. I have a hard time connecting with my father even to this day because
Sure.
it's shell conversations. It's like, hey, how things are going at work, or how the Red Sox doing, sports stuff. It's never like, how are you doing?
They're getting
Like,
beat
what's
by the
going on?
Yankees is how they doing, man. We know that. Yeah.
I don't watch sports no more.
I
So.
got you, man. Part of my story, and Jarrell can probably even share his own version of this too, is having, for at least 12, the first 12 years of my life, having a father physically present, right?
Mhm.
He was there. He was the provider too. I'm in debt for some of the discipline and work ethic that he modeled. He didn't tell me about it, but he lived it, right? I saw him getting up early. I saw him putting in long hours at work, and so I absorbed that. But it was also, devoid um, of that kind of love, of that kind of, putting their arm around you and telling you, my father never said, man, I'm proud of you. He always pushed me, but he never said that he was proud of me. How much of what you absorbed, from your dad, do you think you translated over to God, right? Because we work with kids coming from broken homes, and myself personally, when I even thought about this concept, God is my father, I think I subconsciously immediately transposed my earthly father, right? Because that's the context that you have for what a dad looks like, is right, your physical dad. So, talk a little bit about that, I guess, as you're in high school, you're playing these sports. Did you have like college offers? What did it look like for you to transition from high school to college and basically out of your parents' home?
So kind of just to backstep a little bit, because I had that void of not feeling loved or accepted, I tried to seek that in other avenues. I was running after women from the age of like 12 or 13, girls at the time, but also I wanted to feel accepted and loved. So I wanted to fit in and be accepted by all the crowds, whether it was the punk rock crowd or it was the jocks or it was, the nerds. Like I had friends in all different types of sects.
Okay.
And I started hanging out with people that I probably shouldn't have hung out with, and I just wanted to be accepted. And I ended up catching a case at 13 with 196 counts of vandalism.
Wow.
And I had 5 people sleeping at my house, and we all snuck out and just destroyed a couple neighborhoods near my parents' house. And whatever people didn't fess up to, and we got caught and brought down to the police station, got pinned on me because it happened at my house. So that being said, that was a real pivotal moment where it kind of straightened me out a little bit, but it was only like a band-aid on the problem. I didn't really address any issues. I had over 10 grand worth of restitution and lawyer fees that I had to pay.
Wow.
My first job was 5 and a quarter, working at a pizza joint washing dishes, and I didn't see a paycheck for the first 2.5 years of my life. It went all to the court fees and the lawyer fees.
Wow.
So that was humbling. My best friends at the time, or I thought were my best friends, I was court ordered not to hang out with them. I had to be in on school nights at 7, 9 on the weekends. Could only do anything beyond that if it was church affiliated or school related. It was just really crazy to experience that. And then meanwhile, I'm just skating through probation, and then I'm dabbling with smoking weed and drinking. And now at this point, after that happened, I kind of had this rebellious spirit, like I can pretty much do anything and get away with it because I didn't go to juvie, I didn't go to jail, I wasn't of age, but just just like I just did all this crazy stuff, and all I did was have to work to pay it off, and that work's easy to me. Work's something I've been taught by my father and modeled. So
Mm.
it kind of opened up this doorway of
Yeah.
pushing the envelope, and by the time I'm 18 years old, I've stopped playing any of the other sports except for football, and I'm getting ready to go to a D4 college, Westfield State. It's in Western Massachusetts, and
Okay. Staying close to home.
it was like a 2.5 hour ride still.
Okay.
It was on the other side of the state, but yeah, it was still in Massachusetts, and I'm ready to go there. And at this time, I've been smoking weed every single day, taking psychedelics, mushrooms, and acid, and I'm hooked on OxyContin and cocaine, snorting them at the time, and just I went to college and I was in for a rude awakening. I was like, oh, it's gonna be great, all this freedom, and now I'm there by myself, and I'm trying to essentially kick these drugs for the first time,
Yeah.
and walking on a football field and walking into college life.
Right.
So it was really a vast change of not being under the roof of my parents. Now I got to supply my own meals, make sure I make it to the chow hall every day to get food when they're distributing the food and stuff. And
How'd you get dope, man? How'd you get dope?
How'd I get dope? That's just one thing. If you want dope, you're gonna find
You gonna find it.
Yeah, you're gonna find it.
That adulting is something serious, anyway.
Yeah.
That transition for a man to get that freedom at 18, 19, 20 years old.
I would like to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you said you were going to church as a young person. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is, how we were churched early on.
Right.
I don't mind telling you that I am not a church guy. I believe in Jesus, right? But I think that church is like the worst thing happening in America. Now, I know that that's going to give me a lot of mail.
We already get a lot of mail.
Yeah, that's going to give me a lot of mail. But let me tell you why, right? So as a kid, I'm growing up it's a different environment, definitely, than you came up in. But we went to church. And I don't remember learning anything, except the cliches, right? But then you come out of your own echo chamber, and you're out there in the world, and now you find out that I think at that time there were like 22,000 denominations when I was a kid. Now there's like 43,000, and somebody's wrong.
I heard 45,000 yesterday
Right?
too.
Somebody's wrong.
A lot of people are wrong if it's 45,000.
Right? Yeah. It's a bunch of people wrong, but nobody's saying who's wrong. Everybody's just saying that they're right. Right now, every now and then you'll get somebody say, there's some, but it's like, okay, so I don't get to read the Bible till I go to prison, right? You literally grew up in a house that claimed to know Jesus, and you were a football player, so you know that if you don't know what's in the playbook, you can't get on the field. Right?
Mm.
So how is it that we can grow up in these environments, never studying the playbook, and think that we're Christian?
I think Christian is just a label. When somebody starts praying for certain things, like, hey, I pray for our community, I pray for our nation, I pray for our president, I pray for X, Y, and Z, then I know that they have a stronger prayer life than someone who's like, Lord, help me pay my rent this month. You know what I mean? Because they're thinking
still
outside
children.
of themselves.
Yeah, they're still little children.
Yeah.
They're dependent upon, just the basic resources.
So my problem was that, once I quote unquote, came of age, or I'm in the process of coming of, faith age, is I started to look back on all this stuff that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's really the birth of this show is that, why are we still doing this if it doesn't work?
I do believe there's a lot of people that have diverted the mission of what Jesus talked about in the gospel and what God's intent was for community. I believe there's a strong desire for community. I think that when we're not in community and we don't have other brothers and sisters in Christ that we can relay stuff on, go through our problems with, pick people up, like that part right there is what's missing. We've lost sight when we show up to this show and we're singing songs and we're putting money in people's pockets and we're not knowing where those money is going afterwards. Like there should be accountability. All throughout the Bible, there's accountability throughout Scripture, and if we're not being accountable, we should know, hey, if you're taking 10 grand in collections this month, where's the receipts?
Yeah, where's the receipts?
Let me just some outcomes on that little bit.
Yeah,
right?
And there needs to be more level of accountability. And I think honestly, our heart posture is shifting as the whole entire Western civilization. If you go back to the early age of when the church was started, what we have today, it doesn't even correspond. Like it was completely different. Jesus said, "Follow me, sell everything," and it's hard for a rich man to make it.
It's almost like he was a communist.
Come
If he
on.
were,
Socialistic
today, a
communist.
socialist, yeah, communist because he's perfect, right? So, communism in the Marx's estimation really couldn't be achieved, but socialism was a kind of a step toward it. But Jesus was the perfect thing, right? So he's telling people to share all their stuff and take care of each other. It's like, what?
Build this community of
That don't
ragtag
work
people.
in capitalism. We can't do that. We got to have a market, right? And we, in our case, you talk about when the church first started in Western civilization. That's an interesting phrase, Western civilization, right? You familiar with Columbus's travels?
Yeah.
So by that time, the world, quote unquote, world, Roman world and European world, had been indoctrinated pretty much with some form of Catholicism or Protestantism.
State religion. Yeah.
But it was all state religion.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was interested in this. And so state religion, what are your thoughts about that first, right? How do you think that works out? But then Columbus came upon the Taino, which were the natives there, and they didn't have any of the religion, any of the rules, or you ever hear about this? The people that he came upon.
Vaguely.
Okay. So it was paradise. And what the Europeans brought was their disease, their guns, their violence, their slavery, and their Jesus. And even when we get to the American story, right? The Massachusetts, the
Boston Tea Party.
Yeah. We talk about the Puritans and
Plymouth Rock.
The Pilgrims, right?
Yeah.
They were doing witch trials, right? Drowning women. How does that?
Going down a rabbit hole here.
No. I'm just saying that when we were talking about the faith and where it comes from and throwbacks, I'm always interested when people say, "Well, the good old days." When I'm like, when was that exactly? When was there a time when actual loving Christianity was a part of Western civilization? And if I'm a kid, how do I explain that to someone, growing up and looking at all this madness? I mean, how do I explain to my child that there's 43,000? When does he learn? And who's responsible for making that, giving that foundation, that solid foundation? That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the people that are commissioned to do it by God, I don't think everybody's commissioned, and some people are commissioned for a season, and the grace has fallen away. So the people that are responsible for it are the people that have the apostolic call in their lives, the ones that are building and creating and developing and advancing. But to answer your question, I think we still do have what the church was supposed to be in the midst of the beginning of stages. We still have that today. We just have the other stuff drowning it out. There still are communities that are there that are and when we're talking about the kind of socialist communist type thing with Jesus saying sell everything and follow me. He knew that we were going to get attached to things, that we were going to treat things as idols. He knew that we were going to be addicted to our phones. We were going to be addicted to the gym or spending money on this or do X and Y and this. And he wanted us to be selfless. So he didn't want anything to come before him because it's a form of idolatry. So when he's telling you to release those things, he's actually telling you to check your heart and find out where you are. And what's important is what you'll give your heart to. So, and I have to constantly do that every single day. Lord, what am I putting before you? What can I surrender to you? What am I doing to serve self instead of serving others? And, I think I don't agree with state religion. I think that when we're telling somebody you have to believe this because of this, and this is what, there's no other option, it doesn't give any room for God to really move in your heart and help you develop as a man or a woman. Like
it's conformity.
It's conformity, yeah. So, and that's why, I used to be heavy into politics, and the Lord I got rebuked, and I had to sit back and be like, listen, this is in God's hands. There ain't nothing I'm gonna say or do that's gonna change this person's view. There ain't nothing I'm gonna say or do that I can physically do by myself that is going to change the outcome of any election or any politician. So I just said, okay, I surrender this, God. Give me peace about this, and I'm gonna stay out of this. And when I see people getting into disputes and arguments and stuff, I'm just like, that's for them to do. I don't need to engage in that stuff right now. There was a season where I couldn't keep my hands off it. you know. So um, I don't I don't see the fruit in that. You know, if we're just that, to me, that's just a form of division. Like we just need to be like, okay, we can agree to disagree, and we can still hold space for one another and hear each other and talk and not want to kill
Which
each
isn't
other.
it crazy that somebody can have a different belief from you, whether it's religious or political, and
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a determining factor of you like literally hating this person. And the thing that I've uncovered is the majority of people don't even believe what they say.
Oh yeah,
They don't even believe what they say. They don't even
absolutely.
live. They don't live out of their framework for what they say is important to them, what they value. But I want to help us transition, because we got a limited amount of time, and maybe this will kind of sum up some of the things that we've talked about, and then move us into, because I want to learn more about when things got real hardcore for you, right? You went from recreational drug use to probably in your 20s, like, man, you were hardcore in full blown addiction, Narcan multiple times, revived and brought back to life. Maybe talk a little bit about it. Did you feel like, man, I'm a Christian, and during that time I'm convicted of my sin? Did you feel like a backslider, or did you feel kind of confused? Did you feel like, well, God, I've learned all this stuff about you. I don't really see it in my life. And I'm pursuing, was it kind of an escape, God? Were you escaping God? Were you like guilt ridden before God? Like, talk a little bit about that, what that was like, man, transitioning into an addict after, learning about God and being younger.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that compiled and built on each other. So getting in trouble that first time, then before I went to college, there was a girl that I had dated for a while, and then we broke up, and then I went to college, and I just was a freshman football player, so I had to go to all the parties, and I found myself in the same environments, trying to fit in and feel accepted, and then we prided ourselves on how many women we could sleep with, and it was just this whole thing of just being misinformed.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was what made you a man.
Were you
I,
still going to church during this time?
I was not.
Okay.
So at
Okay.
this time, I was not going to church. But when I failed out of college, my end of my sophomore year, I didn't even make it to junior year. I failed out of college, and I went to go live back with my parents.
Okay.
And in that moment, they had no idea that what had been going on for 2.5, 3 years.
You brought back a whole lot of baggage with
I
you to the
did.
house.
At this point, I started doing heroin and smoking crack a little bit here and there.
Okay.
But I went to my first detox. So this is around 23 years old. I went to my first detox. I came to my parents and said, I got a problem. I can't stop.
Okay.
I'm sick. I don't know what this is. First time feeling dope sick, and it was just miserable. And went to detox, came out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be cured. I didn't change nothing. I didn't go to meetings. I didn't had no plan other than I'm just getting off drugs.
Yeah, I'm just cold turkey and just start living a different life.
That's it. So I mean, and like I said, at 13, I was in the restaurant industry, and I found myself in the restaurant industry for almost 21 years, and
that's
11 of them were management, where I was either a store manager, a kitchen manager, a sous chef, executive chef. I prided myself.
So
on
you're
that.
dealing with a bunch of addicts, man, because a lot of people in hospitality, right? Struggles.
I found a whole other identity in that, and I was good at it, and I made a lot of money, but I also just messed my life up further. Dumb decisions. They put me in charge of managing, all this cash, and all of a sudden the deposit's missing out the safe, and then I'm getting a call, come down to the office, and hey, we're going to press charges. And then my parents would jump in and help me and pay the money. I don't go to court. I pay them back, and I skip out of don't going to court. But I lost at least 4 jobs for stealing all the money out of the safe.
Wow.
So
you uncover something that we bring up a lot, which is, situations happen with young people in poor communities who don't have a mother and father that are advocating for them. What do you think happens, right? It's like you got out of a lot of situations, right, that you probably would have spent time. And if you don't have those resources, you don't have parents that know how to advocate through the proper channels, don't have financial resources to help. Well, guess what? You end up, serving time on things that, well, if you had a little bit of advocacy, you would escape that.
Yeah, I know that it was God's plan all along, but sometimes I wonder if they hadn't bailed me out and I went and sat in jail for a year, would I have gotten it sooner?
Yeah. Sometimes and I've had this conversation with my mom, like that enablement, right? It's like you love somebody and you care about somebody, but you cross the line and you basically saved them, right? And I know for me, when I made my real turn, it got to the point where everybody had kind of turned their back on me and basically was like, man, we're done with you. And that's for people like me. I think, you almost have to hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
When did you start getting Narcan, man, and revive back to life? Is this mid-20s? Is this after you kind of detoxed?
Yeah. So I stayed working in restaurants. I started selling a lot of drugs, selling pills and selling crack. And,
Mm.
I remember the first time that, I got robbed by somebody, and I was just like, I can't believe this happened. I got robbed by a woman, by all things, too. And I was just,
Hey, look, man, they be the ones that set you up, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
Been there before too. I've been
I'm not
there.
laughing because it was a woman. I'm laughing because you only got robbed once. Like,
Yeah.
the first time I got robbed, it just set off this phenomenon. I mean, well, if that just happened to me, I can do it to other people.
Yeah.
And now I put myself in a situation where I'm getting shot at.
Yeah.
Almost got stabbed several times. Like,
Okay.
people threatened to come by my mother's house and shoot the house up. Just really crazy stuff. And then, then I got robbed again and again. And you just, it's just, you become accustomed to it. You're like, okay, I'm just in a dangerous situation. It is what it is. I'm shooting dope. I might die every time I get high anyway, so I might as well just deal with this situation.
You talking about an episode we shot, which was we barbecued confusion is normal. And when you're in that, you think it's normal.
I had no idea of what my purpose was. I become so distraught. I become a program all-star is what they say up there, where you check in because you get free health insurance for being a drug addict. So you check into the detox, you get treated, you find a woman there who's got money or a prescription or EBT card, and then you find some dude who's got a connect, and you leave with them, you go get high, and then you spin cycle, you go back in, you do the same thing on repeat, and the state pays for it the whole entire time.
That's the same. That is happening consistently.
Yeah.
We just had a friend that he's saying the same thing.
Yep.
Same thing that you're saying. It's like, oh my God, what is this? And this is a well-known, highly touted down in the South, at least, I don't know what's in the North, organization for treatment. And he was saying that the people that work there don't know anything. Their kids out of college and counseling.
Case manager, 23 years old.
Yeah, 23
helping you with your addiction. 30-year-old, 30 years of addiction.
Hasn't even read the big book. Don't know what 12 steps are.
Right.
And he ended up teaching.
That's how it works.
Because he'd been, he was a treatment professional, if you will. He'd been in treatment over and over again. So but yeah, that's another problem that I think contributes to recidivism in addiction or relapsing is going to treatment programs that are not really treatment programs. Again, those things are horrible for the community, but isn't that the same thing that many of us do with church?
Sure is.
So talk about the end. I guess the end of your time, your tenure up north, Massachusetts, and then what brought about. Man, I'm moving to Birmingham because it sounded like you had an epiphany, really.
Yeah.
After all these times of being revived potentially, and did you just kind of come to the end of yourself?
Yeah. So I'll try to summarize, but I had 2 kids in 2012 and 2013 with my ex-wife. And,
okay.
I thought that was going to save me. It didn't. At this point, I had been fired from several jobs. I've been in and out of treatment, long-term and short-term treatment, outpatient. I ended up going to this faith-based program called Teen Challenge, and there's where I finally surrendered to the Lord. I started developing a relationship. We had a lot of communal activities where they teach you how to read the Word and understand it.
Now you said teen, but you're like in your 20s or 30s by then?
Yeah. So Teen Challenge is actually an adult program. They do have adolescent ones. When it first started, I forget the day, but the pastor that started it, he started it because there was a couple of teens in New York that actually killed a kid in a wheelchair in a stabbing. And he wanted to provide these kids with some sort of resource so they didn't go to prison. And he got it approved, and they were the first couple of kids to go through that program, and it got the name Teen Challenge because they were teenagers at the time. So there's actually no teens in there at all. It's all adult, young adults.
I know. Yeah,
that
I was in prison with Tim Frost, was kind of famous in that organization.
Okay, Teen Challenge.
Yeah, so I went there, found the Lord, was naive. I thought everything was from God, and got into a relationship with a woman I had no business being in a relationship with, and ended up relapsing. And 2017 to 2021, suicide attempts are part of my story. I hated who I was. I was going to the doctors and prescription shopping. I got on like 7 or 8 medications, including Suboxone. I've been on methadone several times, Vivitrol. So at this time, I'm on Suboxone. I'm on a bunch of psych medications. And I just looked at a picture of myself, and this is like 2018. I was like, "You look horrible. I feel horrible."
I've been there, bro.
I wish I could get my picture from 8 to 1987. Woo. Man,
Was you skinny then, man, or was you still a
man,
little big?
I was 140
Yeah,
pounds,
you was
soaking
skinny,
wet,
bro. Yeah,
standing in
yeah.
the rain, wearing a sponge
Yeah,
coat.
you was
You hear
skinny,
me?
man.
I would toe up from the floor. My pockets was touching.
You was Buffalo, man.
I would toe up, man. I would toe up.
We call it hang glide from a Dorito.
There you go. Yeah. Hula hoop through a Cheerio.
I had lost 47 pounds in 8 months. You know what you can't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just, it's about the next hit, man. That stuff
when you're
don't
on
play.
that. Yeah.
As Rick James would say, cocaine hell of a drug.
Mm.
So I had asked God to help me get off the medications, and I started getting off everything. I got off the Suboxone. I detoxed everything myself.
Okay.
I gradually went down I tapered myself off, and at this time, a big part of my story is steroids.
Okay.
I've used steroids and sold steroids for most of my life. When I wasn't on the streets and when I was sober, I had steroids.
Okay.
So that was something I wasn't willing to address. And I always struggled with pornography. That was something I wasn't willing to address. I thought that was just something every man did. And, those two things I was still battling with, but I was serving the Lord at this time. I had come back to the Lord. I'm serving in all these different groups at church and involved in these Bible studies. And, at this time, this is like 2019 going into the 20, I meet my wife on online.
Okay.
So this is all important and vital. So we met within 36 days of our first communication. She's living in Birmingham. I'm living in Massachusetts. We ended up deciding, we decided a few days in it we were going to get married, and this is from the Lord.
Dang.
And 36 days later, I got in a car. I drove all the way down to Alabama.
Good
I had a ring on me. Took 18 and a half hours straight.
I was going to say, it's about 18-hour drive.
Met her, proposed, kissed her, went to the courthouse in Gadsden, Alabama, got married, went and met her parents, and then we drove all the way back to Massachusetts.
Wow.
So,
bro, that is crazy work.
That's the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
So we got married, and she's like, well, I'll come live with you, because my mom was kind of freaking out because I was going to move down here.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'll go there, and I'll make her feel better, and this and that. And, becoming one flesh at my parents' house was a horrible idea, because I didn't have much of anything.
With an Alabama woman up north.
At this time, I was
I'm sure she loved the people up around Massachusetts, too.
Yeah, she didn't like it. She's trying to start conversation with people in the gas station. Like, why are you talking to me?
It's so funny because, being from up north, too, man, and coming down here and then living, there's this idea that, well, man, people in the South are so friendly. And I'm like, no. It's nice. People in the South are nice. See, people they're polite and they're nice in the South, but up north, they ain't polite or nice, and they ain't friendly neither. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it gets mistaken as being friendly, but it really is. Their Southern hospitality is real from a standpoint of they make you feel, at least like, hey, God bless your heart, child.
They be calling you stupid at the same time.
Yeah, they will, though. They'll back that.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, so we got married. We drove all the way up there, and then at the time, I was just I had done some remodel. I started my own flooring company in 2017 when I got saved, and 6 months later, I was broke.
It's hard starting a business, man.
Yeah. So
even without a relapse,
it was really, it gave me a taste for being a business owner.
Okay,
and
moved you out of the hospitality world too, right?
Yes, yeah. And it was really hard to get back into business for myself, because I had sold like 30 grand worth of tools and lost 150 grand in like 6 months. It was just really demoralizing to me. And so when she came up here, when we went to Massachusetts, she was like, you're good at all these things. Why we needed to start our own business. And so she encouraged me, and her dad did too. Her dad's been one of my big supporters this whole time.
That's awesome.
Helping me out with tools and knowledge and understanding and just coaching me. And so we started our own business in Massachusetts. This is in 2020, right after we got married in August. And for a full year, we had our own business. We were starting to thrive. We had a lot of tools, a lot of repeat customers. And whole time I'm struggling with steroids and pornography. And I got so crazy. I wasn't cycling off them, and I just stayed on them for like months at a time. And I got this great idea. I'm going to go get a bag of meth. And at this time, I have been an IV user. I wouldn't use any drug unless it was in a needle. Meth and/or heroin. I've overdosed 31 times at this time, where I've been administered Narcan. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a bag of meth. My wife's gone. She's at a concert. I go and get a bag of meth, and I'm like, oh, crap. It's been like 3.5 years since I've done something like this. And I'm like, I need to come down. So I went and got a bag of heroin. Overdose. So I'm on the street corner up in Dorchester, and I'm sitting there, and I'm having an out-of-body experience, and I'm watching my lifeless body, and I'm watching paramedics over me getting ready to administer Narcan, and there was a woman that I was getting high with, and she was on the side of the road. She was dead too. And I remember God saying to me audibly, "I'm not done with you yet." And in that moment, Narcan hit. I got sucked back into my body, and I came to. And then I got up, and then the paramedics looked at me all crazy, and I started praying over that woman that she would come back to life too.
Wow.
And she got revived. She came back to life. And all I could say in that moment was this: I had this strong feeling in my heart of I needed to repent or I was going to die. And I've never felt that before. I never felt like I needed to fully confess all my dirt. I always had something to hold on to that I wasn't willing to let go of. There was shame behind it. The enemy kept me from sharing those things. And in that moment, I said, okay, I'm going to go home and tell my wife everything. And I did. And it freaked her out.
I bet it did.
She cried.
Yeah.
She cried for 3 days straight, and she made arrangements to get on a plane and come to Birmingham, and she left me there.
Okay.
And I was like, my wife's leaving. This is crazy. Like I was just
You were distraught, man.
myself.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
So she said, I want us to continue to work on our marriage, and you need help. And if this is going to work, I have a program that you can come to in Alexandria, Alabama. It just opened up. We know the guy. You know, you get on a plane, and my mom will pick you up and bring you right there from the airport. And well, I need to get everything in order here for a week. You know, we got $30,000 in deposits out from customers. I got jobs I'm in the middle of, and I got to cancel insurance and do all these things. We got vehicles, tools. I left everything.
Wow.
I returned people's money. I canceled jobs. I left all my tools. We left a truck, a vehicle there, and I hopped on a plane with 2 suitcases. And that right there was God's grace, because for that whole entire week I was shooting meth, and I got on that plane, and I hit the ground over here, and I was spun out, and got to that program, and the Lord just started ministering to me. And it was a secular program. We went to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
And that right there was like, I'm not no stranger of any type of 12-step recovery program. I've been in and out of different ones throughout my whole life, whether it's NA, AA, CA,
Celebrate
CR.
recovery, things like that.
So the Lord sat me down for 58 days. I was in that place, and I soaked up everything. I did everything they asked me to do. I set myself aside. I had no phone. I had no money. I had no car. I was at that program abiding by their rules, and I was not going to try to do it Eric's way anymore.
Wow.
I said, I'm making this commitment. I came all the way here in a plane. I could have stayed up there and just did whatever, but this is what I'm doing. I felt it was a divine intervention. And 58 days later, we got a place in Gadsden, and we started our business down here. And her parents were gracious enough where he was going to, my father-in-law gave me a full trailer, totally decked out with tools. He had just retired from being a facility manager for Church of the Highlands. And he said, you come pay my house and be inside of my house and do a backsplash on me. You can have this whole trailer with the tool. It was like, probably 10 grand worth of tools plus the enclosed trailer.
Wow.
So that was God just blessing me. And, I'm like, okay, I can't mess this up. So I just kept following through. A year went by, and then we ended up wanting to move to over the area where we live now. We live in Alabaster, but there was a period of time we had to move to her parents' house for 8 months. While we were trying to transition to get to where we were. We lived in Calera for 8 months. And from there, we just kept growing our business. And now we're in a whole different side of the state, because we were an hour and a half away in Gadsden. So now we're building our business again.
Yeah.
But this time we got resources. And, so all that to say this, I was starting to feel lethargic and crazy because I wasn't working a program. When I was out in Gadsden, I had a program. I had connection. I had all the people around me. I was involved in, different ministry. And I came to Clare and in the Alabaster area, and I didn't have that. And I remember my wife saying, "Hey, listen, our marriage is not going to work if you don't get affiliated with you don't get some men in your life. They're going to hold you accountable." And I said, "Okay." And she's like, "We should probably find a meeting." And I found Celebrate Recovery at a Cultivate Church. That's where I go. And I showed up there, and I just found the first man that looked like he was doing the things that I needed to do. And I said, I need help. I haven't used in about 1.5 years, 2 years, but I'm feeling crazy, and I don't like my life right now. And he's like, all right, well, call me and do this and this and this. And I found that we were talking about community earlier. That's where I really found community, because people weren't being fake. Like, they were being transparent, saying like, hey, I struggle with this, and this is how I got through this. And I might not have all the answers, but this is what I found to work for me. It might not work for you, but we can try to walk you through that process of what will work for you. And that right there was just like, I went through the 12-step program there, CR. And then after that, they started making me a person that could lead and do teachings. And God just kept working on me. And since then, my wife and I have been in business for 5 years now. It's been almost 6 years because it was 2020. I've been sober since 2021 September when I first got in a plane and got here. So this September will be 5 years complete where
congratulations,
I haven't
man.
struggled with pornography. I haven't struggled with lying or stealing or there was a time where I couldn't walk in a store without stealing because I just why am I going to pay for Gillette razors? I put it in my pocket, like that. To me, that was just common sense, you know, but I was misinformed and I had, adopted this mindset that wasn't, what I should be doing. So, almost 5 years now. And September last year, we had our biggest year of business, last year, and we didn't even finish out the year because I started the new business with my new business partner in September.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. So the name of your company is Handy Dudes.
Handy Dudes, yes, sir.
Talk about how that transition.
So we had a company called Transform DK. We were doing remodeling and all types of construction, and I had developed this relationship with my business partner Philip, and he saw something in me that I didn't see, and I was pretty much just self-employed. I said I was a business owner, but I was doing everything, wearing every hat, and there's only so much you
doing the market, also the business employee.
That's right. Doing the marketing, doing the calls, doing the work, everything.
Yeah.
Get that.
Yeah.
So when we had started Handy Dudes, we had 3 employees at the time that I had held for a whole entire year with Transform DK, and that right there was a big leap of faith because I was like, sometimes I'm struggling to pay my bills. How am I going to pay for somebody else and be responsible for their household?
Mm-hmm.
So then God gave me the grace and showed me how to do it. Did it with 1, did it with 2, did it with 3. Now we've been in business since September, and we put the remodeling on hold, and I've just been diving into this thing head first. And we got 16 employees right now.
That's fantastic, man.
We have hit the ground running. We have an executive team that oversees the company. So from a level of, I have an accountant that does all our accounting that I contact whenever I have any issues or anything like that. We have a marketing executive. We have an IT exec. We have a CEO of the company as well. So I have all these resources. And, right now, there was a time where it was just me and Tony. You met Tony.
Yeah.
We're doing all the office work, and I'm just banging it out, and he's out in the field helping out with jobs just to get things done, make sure we have money to pay our employees and pay our bills. And, now we have 4 people in the office, and we got 12 people in the field. So, but it's just, it's progressively grown my capacity of what is possible.
Yeah.
I feel like the Lord has really breathed on what we're doing because we're bringing a professional service that is made easy to people where there's that stigma. Handyman is like, well, I'm going to get some chuck in the truck, or I'm going to get some overpriced contractor. And, either way, they're not going to communicate well. And
only thing worse is a car salesman.
They might do good job or whatever. I don't know, but there's never an easy process.
Yeah.
It's always like, well, I got to get a quote and I got to do this, I got to do that. We've developed this process in the system where you can submit your request without even actually talking to us on the phone if you choose. We can quote it. 80% of the jobs we can quote remotely without actually going there, just through pictures and information.
I love it.
And then we send a quote. You approve it. We schedule a job. We don't schedule anything until it's been signed and approved. Then we schedule the job. We execute the job. We follow up, and then we, make sure we know that the customer was happy, and we repeat. And it's this simple process where HOAs are using us, property management, realtors, people that really they're banking on your service to help them get their job accomplished or to make money.
Right.
So we're a vital part of that. And,
that's right.
If they don't have somebody reliable that's going to communicate and do all the things, then they're potentially losing money, and or their job could be in jeopardy because they're not able to execute the quotas or the things that they're responsible for. So we just broke 133,000 this month. As of yesterday, there's still 2 days left, right?
That's
and
incredible.
Last month we were at 99,000. So we're progressively moving in the right direction. I'm hoping that we can break 2 million in our first year, and that would be, we have to maintain about 175,000 for the rest of the year. Each month.
That's phenomenal, man.
Yeah, we'll be looking to, for some sponsorship.
And we've called on him for residents that have had.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Now the one time we did call him, I think it was like a $17,000. So but that, hey, it is what it is. Critical repairs sometimes are way up there, especially nowadays with materials and things
But I
like that.
mean, it's not that we won't do it. It's
Yeah.
just if it's not, there's a lot of things that are not critical. You know,
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Sometimes
Yeah.
with that. And we did have a lady one time. She needed more work, but we spent $10,000 on
Yeah.
toilet, plumbing, windows, deck, all
Which
of
was
that.
all critical.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
all critical, and she
Well,
still needed more work. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, well, let's we're gonna bring this to a conclusion. I would love kind of parting thoughts. If you could talk a little bit. I know you mentioned kind of you're reignited and you found your accountability through this group, right? It's not the church, so to speak, but the church is providing it. What's been your experience within, I guess, the church context and the I'm guessing you developed relationships with the people that were in the recovery program. Maybe they're one and the same. I don't know. But how, I guess, what has the experience been like for you within the church? Do you feel supported, encouraged? Do you feel you can be transparent? Do you feel that the folks there are genuine and things that you can really be honest and open about in front of others?
Yeah. So it's the conundrum that I found myself in most of my life was you can't say that and you can't admit that because if you do, it's going to ruin my reputation and yours. And you can't share that because people are going to judge you and you're going to be criticized. And they're always going to be, if I told somebody to be a thief, well, they're going to be clutching their purse and watching what
Right.
you're doing, and
Right.
you're being predispositioned to that stuff. So the lie the enemy told me my whole life was you can't share that stuff because of X, Y, and Z. But truly, that's the reason why I'm free today because there's a
Gotcha.
level of accountability. If I share with these people,
That's
they're
right.
going to watch me, and then now I have to actually do what I say I'm going to do.
That's good.
So, the lie the whole time was that I couldn't share those things. So I share those things with utter transparency. Like if I'm on a platform in my church and they give me the microphone, I'm sharing like I just did here, and sometimes even rawer, depending on what I'm sharing on. When I go in and do jail ministry on Saturday with my wife and our church, they celebrate recovery. I share with the inmates the same exact way.
Yeah.
And I have men in the group crying like that happened to me too.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that. No one's ever been this transparent. And it's and that the lie is we don't have to withhold those things.
The secrets about our issues that we don't share actually keep us sick.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
And it gives the opportunity for the enemy to make that manifest because we know things of evil will manifest in the dark. And when you put light on it, it doesn't have the chance to grow. We're shedding light on it. So I say that to say this, that I've jumped out the gate with all the people in my church community or CR with utter honesty. I'm struggling with this. I used to struggle with this, just being real transparent. I meet with my pastor weekly right now.
Okay.
We've been doing a mentorship for about 6 months where we're going through different books, and half of our conversations are about business, and he's giving me guidance on that. Half of it's about navigating with stuff with my wife or my children or whatever. Not everybody in church is perfect. I've had issues with people that made bad decisions. And
by the way, the wheat and tares grow together too. So people need to understand that there's a lot of tares in the church.
Well, and I almost walked away from our church several months ago because of there was somebody in Celebrate Recovery that was telling people it's okay to do certain things that were ungodly. Hey, we're over here celebrating you not being on meth anymore, but you can go get a bag of weed and sleep with us. What I mean? That's like, wait a minute, like either we are or we aren't. So stuff like that, and people actually took the advice and did the wrong thing. So that tore me apart in my spirit because I saw this person doing so well, and all of a sudden you just see this decline because they got some bad advice. And someone was modeling a bad example,
right? And
they were a person that were of leadership in the church.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why ain't nobody removing this person? He's cancerous right now.
Church.
Yeah.
But the response I got, and I thought it should have been more immediate, but the response I got was, we're
aware. We're not. He hadn't crossed any lines.
Yeah, we're navigating through this, and we want that person to grow, but there comes a point they have to go if they don't grow.
Right.
So you have to have a level of grace. So, but the community I have in church, my pastors, the men that are in my life, I have probably about 7 or 8 men that I can call at any given time and share about any given thing, and they will answer the phone.
That's good.
And then I have all the people that work for me. It's not even a job, man. It's ministry. Yeah. Mentorship. Like they know they can call me at any time, and like what I was modeled is what I'm modeling, and it's about just growing each other up.
It sounds like at the core everything you just mentioned is relationships.
It is. It's
not about systems. It's not about hey, walk through this process of these steps. I think it's the relationships, right? It's the ability to ask questions, the ability to be real, and like you said, to be held accountable, because men need that. You know,
Amen.
we need that. Well, thank you all for joining us, Eric. Great having you, man. Appreciate the
Absolutely.
Thank you.
appreciate just sharing your story and your vulnerability and transparency with us. I hope this helps somebody out there. But thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of Barbecuing Sacred Cows.
The podcast that you get to question
Everything you've ever learned. Peace.